Imagine you are standing in a sunny mountain field. It is Father Day. June 1969. And the air is warm and still. Your 6-year-old son is playing just 30 feet away from you. He is wearing a bright red shirt, something you chose specifically so you would never lose sight of him. He giggles and ducks behind a single bush to hide as part of a family game. For a split second, he is out of view, and the world feels perfectly safe. You wait for the shout of joy or the sound of him jumping out. But the laughter never comes, and a heavy silence hits the woods. This is not a natural quiet, but a pressurized void where the birds simply stop singing. Then, out of nowhere, the signature smoke of the mountains rolls in. It is a fog so thick it feels like a wet, cold blanket over your face. You run to the bush. You push the branches aside, and your heart stops. There is nothing there. No footprints in the soft dirt and no crushed grass. Just an empty space where a young boy should be standing. You scream his name as loud as you can, but your voice does not travel. It feels as if the fog is physically swallowing the sound of your cries. This is the terrifying reality of what happened to Dennis Martin. And it is just the beginning of a pattern the National Park Service refuses to discuss. Welcome back to the program. I am David Paulides. For those of you new to my research, I have spent years investigating a very specific set of disappearances. I call these cases Missing 411, and they happen in our national parks and wildlands. These are not your typical lost hiker scenarios that can be explained by a simple mistake. When you look at the raw data, you start to see profile points that repeat with disturbing frequency. These people vanish in the presence of others, often right before a major weather event. Tonight, we are focusing our attention on the Great Smoky Mountains. This is the most visited national park in the United States, yet it holds dark secrets. The Cherokee people called this sacred place Shaconage, the place of blue smoke. I have come to believe that this smoke is more than just water vapor and plant oils. It acts as a veil, a curtain between what we know and what we fear. I am stating the facts as I found them in 10,000 pages of official documents. Let us go back to the case of Dennis Martin in June of 1969. He was with his father and grandfather at a high elevation area called Spence Field. Dennis went behind a bush for a second, and he was gone forever. The Park Service will tell you he simply got lost in the woods. But you have to think about the logistics of this event. Within minutes of him vanishing, a massive and unseasonal storm hit the entire mountain range. We are talking about 3 inches of rain falling in just a few hours. Why is that a key detail in my Missing 411 research? Because bad weather almost always follows these specific disappearances. It is as if the environment itself is trying to scrub the crime scene clean. The search for Dennis was the largest in the history of the National Park System. We had the FBI, the National Guard, and even the Green Berets on site. Why were special forces deployed to look for a 6-year-old boy? What did they know that they were not telling the desperate public? During the search, a family named the Keys reported something truly chilling. They were several miles away when they heard a sickening, blood-curdling scream. Shortly after, they saw a rough-looking shaggy man running through the heavy brush. This man was reportedly carrying something over his shoulder as he disappeared. The Park Service dismissed this sighting, saying the timing did not work out. But if you know the terrain, you know that whatever took Dennis was not moving by human rules. The highly trained search dogs could not find a single thing in a park teeming with life. Not a single scrap of red fabric was ever found. It is as if the boy was lifted straight up off the forest floor. No tracks. No clues. Just a void where a life used to be. 7 years later, in October of 1976, we see another high elevation case. Trenny Gibson was 16 years old and on a school field trip. She was hiking near Clingman's Dome, the highest point in the entire park. Trenny was walking on a well-defined trail in a line of 40 students. She rounded a bend just a few yards ahead of her classmates. When the next student rounded that same bend seconds later, Trenny was gone. I want you to really process how impossible that sounds. You are on a trail with 40 people and never more than a few feet away. Visibility was poor that day because of that signature Smoky Mountain fog. There was no scream, no sound of a struggle, and no tracks in the brush. Searchers combed that area for weeks using thermal imaging and helicopters. How does a healthy teenager vanish in a gap of less than 30 seconds? This is a classic missing 411 profile point called the point of separation. It is that split second where the victim is alone and something efficient strikes. Then we have the case of Thelma Polly Melton in 1981. She was a 58-year-old woman hiking with two of her friends. Polly was a slow hiker who usually trailed behind the group. Suddenly, she got a burst of energy and walked around a curve into the fog. She was never seen again by anyone. And the dogs failed completely. When the bloodhounds were brought to the spot, they acted strangely. They did not just lose the scent. They acted as if the trail ended in midair. I have spent a lot of time thinking about Dennis, Trenny, and Polly. What connects these people across different years and different ages? High elevation, dense fog, silent vanishings, and the total failure of K9 units. The Park Service wants you to believe it is just bears or perhaps feral humans. But bears leave a mess, and feral humans always leave some kind of tracks. I am going to tell you something that is very hard for people to hear. Many searchers I have spoken to off the record believe this is not biological. We might be talking about something as extreme as dimensional portals. Do not switch off because you need to look at the physics. The smoke in these mountains is unique and highly charged with organic aerosols. There are places where the granite and water create a specific electromagnetic frequency. I believe that under certain conditions, the veil between our reality and something else thins. These people are not getting lost in the woods. They are walking through a door that only opens when the mist is right. The scent is gone because they are no longer on our plane of existence. This explains why a boy can disappear from behind a bush in 3 seconds. He did not run away. He was suddenly and completely elsewhere. There are ancient Cherokee legends about the little people who live in a parallel world. They warned people never to follow the strange lights in the fog. They knew that the smoke was a bridge to a place humans do not belong. I am not here to scare you. I am here to make you aware. The Great Smoky Mountains are a national treasure, but they hold immense power. If you go there, you must keep your children within arm reach at all times. Never hike alone, and always pay attention to the environment around you. If the fog rolls in and the woods go deathly silent, do not wait. Do not look for the perfect photo. Just get back to your vehicle immediately. Once you step into that smoke, there is no guarantee you will return. I am David Paulides, and I have given you the facts as they stand. The families of these victims deserve answers that the authorities refuse to provide. We will continue to look for the truth, no matter how disturbing it may be. Keep your eyes open and stay safe when you venture into the wild. The mountains are beautiful, but they can be cold and unforgiving. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. Would you like me to focus on a different missing 411 hotspot, or provide more detail on the electromagnetic theories of the Smokies?